Horror Fanatic here, and it's time to talk about The Lords of Salem by Rob Zombie and B.K. Evenson, which I have to say I like about as much as I liked the movie. Which, for those of you that read that review, wasn't that much. Now, I was optimistic because the reviews on this book were mixed, and I tend to disagree with most critics, I've thought. But I have to agree with the not good half of the reviews, because it was kind of boring. It was kind of easy to see where things were going, especially if you saw the movie like I did while you were reading the book, which does spoil a lot of things. But mostly it just doesn't feel like it was going anywhere. That said, this book did have a number of things going for it that the movie absolutely did not. I really liked the characters of Whitey and Herman in the book more than I did the movie, even though in the movie I really did like Herman. Herman's pretty good all the way throughout. Totally Team Herman. But here you get a better sense of the characters, you get a better sense of the relationship with Heidi. You get a better feel for Heidi herself, but even then she still feels like a character who doesn't do anything and things merely happen to her. Though her using drugs this time around again, falling back into it, feels more like an extension of the situation and less like it's her only conscious decision, which it felt like that in the movie. So her character is a bit more sympathetic, except for here again, things happen to her and she never tells anyone or does anything, and it's over the course of a week, so I can understand it. Not really, though. Her character is just bland and one-dimensional. One-dimensional. That's a pretty good way to sum up this book. None of the characters feel all that layered. They're written for an exact purpose, and no one seems to have an existence or a personality that much beyond what is needed for that moment, with the exclusion of Herman and Whitey. I actually like that Whitey's given a reason why he's called Whitey, because calling Herman Black Herman would be racist. I found that part interesting and funny. The witches, not as good either. The landlady and her sisters, maybe because it wasn't played by Patricia O'Neill this time around. Missing a Rocky Horror alumni really does hurt the novelization. And again, they're reincarnations or they're not. It tries to leave things like ambiguous to interpret as a reader, but is never interesting enough to create the depth needed for you to care enough to debate one way or the other. Her dog Steve is more endearing in this than in the movie, which is hard because, which isn't hard because dogs are endearing as fuck. There's just not a lot to say about the book. Like, if you watch the movie, you know all of the good parts of the book before it comes. And the things that are layered in that are worth reading mainly have to do with Herman and Whitey, and that's about it. Like, I like the use of like otherworldly creatures in the book, like demons and stuff, but it never explains apartment number 5 again, or the importance behind it. It never explains a lot of things. It does go more in depth about what the music does to people. It unleashes a demon inside of them, or places a demon inside of them. Which, again, like, where the movie had shock and some pretty decent visuals in it, the book lacks shock or surprise or any of the things that would really help fuel the horror in the novel. Once again, it feels like things happen to her, and you should be shocked at the things happening to her. But often, they build up in such a way that I don't feel bad for the character. Like, it's supposed to feel futile, I guess, and beyond her power to control, and that removes a lot of the dread by making it fate. This is what will happen no matter what. Then there's no real build-up. I also like that it gives what happens to Herman and Whitey, though I won't spoil that because that was probably the highlights of the book, is the best way to phrase it, even though they're not that good. But it does give a sense of closure that the film didn't give. The ending does differ heavily, but at the same time leaves you being like, well, what was the point of reading those 326 pages? Like, I'm glad it's a standalone, so I don't have to read a sequel just to see if maybe it gets better when I know that it won't. So, in summary, The Lords of Salem's novelization, I would recommend the movie. It's shorter, easier to get through. It might be your thing, but I doubt it. And kind of happy the experience is behind me and not in a good way. That said, next up is going to be Odd Hours, the next in the Odd Thomas series. I was originally going to intend to stop with Brother Odd with the departure of Elvis, but Frank Sinatra stepped in. Kind of want to see where that goes. See you next month.